Good morning. We are in the run-up to the 2016 presidential primary election, which is coming up on this Tuesday, June 7th. I was just going to go over a little bit of what's happened so far in the election and what's going on over the weekend, and some information for voters in anticipation of Tuesday. As of 9:30 this morning, we had 33,812 early voters. That's almost twice as many early voters as we had over the same time period in the presidential primary of 2012. So we are seeing a much heavier turnout this time around, mostly driven apparently by the Democratic presidential primary. Because of that total number, approximately 70% of those voters have been Democrats, 30% Republicans. We've also mailed over 11,000 absentee ballots, which is also more ballots than we mailed in 2012. So far, we've received 6,866, and of those, 59% are Democratic ballots, 41% are Republican ballots. So again, we're seeing a higher turnout in absentee amongst Democratic voters as well so far. We had a very heavy day of early voting yesterday, about 4,300 voters. We expect another heavy day today, and tomorrow, Saturday, is going to be the last day of early voting countywide. Our polling places, all 19 of them, will be open until 8 o'clock today. They will be open tomorrow from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., and tomorrow will be the last opportunity to vote early. So we want to remind voters, if they don't want to have to wait until Election Day, come out and vote tomorrow at any of the 19 early voting sites countywide before 8 o'clock. There is still time to vote absentee. We will be mailing out the last absentee ballots today. That is by statute. So if we don't already have an application for an absentee ballot here in our office, we cannot mail them out past today. But again, there is that opportunity to vote early today and tomorrow, as well as on Tuesday for anybody who didn't get an absentee ballot application in by today. And of course, we will continue to receive those absentee ballots all the way up until 7 o'clock on Tuesday. If a voter hasn't gotten one in the mail yet, they can do so today, but I also want to remind voters they can drop off their ballots at our office downtown at One Civic Plaza, or they can drop them off at any polling place on Election Day. So if they have that absentee ballot in hand, maybe they won't get it until over the weekend, they can drop that ballot off at a polling place rather than chancing it with the mail. It does cost postage. We want to remind voters 3 stamps to send that absentee ballot in, and they can always check on our website. I really want to encourage voters to visit BernCo.gov/MVI. That's short for My Voter Information. You can check your registration status. You can check the closest polling locations to you, the wait time at those polling locations for both early and Election Day voting, and also the status of your absentee ballot. If we've mailed it to you, if you've returned it, whether we've gotten it back. And then, of course, voters can always call our main office number 243-VOTE for any questions they may have. We can answer those questions for them as well over the phone. So that's basically it. One thing I want to remind voters going into this heavy early voting day tomorrow and as well as Tuesday, please, if you can, check our website in advance. Again, BernCo.gov/MVI. It's going to really help your voting process to find the closest polling location to you, to find out the hours of operation, where is the accessible parking, what is the wait time. We really want to encourage voters to use this tool. It's mobile optimized, so you can look at it on your computer, you can look at it on your tablet and smartphone, and we want to remind voters when you log into your personal voting record on our website, it will bring up your personalized barcode. If you scan that barcode at a polling place, that will speed up your voting process because the poll workers won't have to spend the time searching for your record. It will just pull up the record automatically. So if you bring a tablet or a smartphone with you, log into BernCo.gov/MVI and use your barcode for a quick, smooth voting experience. I also want to remind voters, if they wait until the last minute to vote on Election Day, so if they decide they're going to vote on Election Day and they wait to go after work, more than likely there's going to be a line at their polling place. So if they don't want to have to wait in line at the end of a long day of work on Tuesday, we do want to try to encourage folks to get in and vote on Saturday, or get in maybe over the lunch hour on Tuesday, or in mid-morning or mid-afternoon tend to be the slowest times on Election Day. We are expecting probably about 50% of our total turnout on Election Day, so about half the voters total will probably come out on Election Day. So again, it's going to be a busy day. Try to get those votes in early if at all possible. What's going on behind me, just briefly, is this is our absentee precinct board. They are processing those approximately 7,000 ballots that we've received in so far. They began this process yesterday. They will be doing this process over the weekend. What they're doing is they're verifying that the ballots have been properly sent in and a signature is on each of the ballots. They're opening the ballots and getting them ready to be fed through our tabulator. We won't begin tabulating those results until closer to election day, and of course those results won't be available until election night, but all early and all absentee results are going to be available right at 7 on election night, just as we have always done since I started running these elections in 2008. So that's all I have for you. Do you all have any questions for me?
What percentage of the voting public tends to turn out data?
It really depends, and I'm projecting about 50%. We are seeing more and more over the course of elections that at least half of our voters are tending to turn out before election day. So it could be a little bit less. It could be maybe more like 45% of the total vote. But kind of based on what I'm seeing right now, we're expecting that sort of 50-50.
One other question I had, it's not specifically related to this, but it is election, and you might not know this.
Yeah.
New Mexico has its vote so late in the election process that you kind of get this feeling that it doesn't matter because the candidates have already been chosen.
Right.
What would it take to move us earlier in the year?
So New Mexico actually has an option. Both the Democratic and Republican parties have the option of conducting an earlier presidential primary caucus. And in fact, in 2004 and in 2008, the Democratic Party chose to, they elected to use that option. And so the Democratic Party ran a caucus in 2004 and 2008 so that we did, on the Democratic side at least, have an earlier choice in the presidential race. In 2008, there were a lot of problems with the democratically run caucus. And so it was kind of decided from that point that it would kind of be better to get back on having the primary election conducted with everything else. But the parties do have that option. They can elect to use that option if they so choose. The other choice, of course, would be to just move the entire primary election up. There was a bill this last year that was introduced to that effect, but it didn't go anywhere. So maybe in years to come, we'll see something like that.
To officially move it is permanently you take a bill?
The entire primary election. It is in statute that it's on the second Tuesday in June currently. But again, both parties do have that caucus option that they could exercise if they so chose. That's already on the books. Yeah.
Maggie, once more, can you go over the early numbers that we have so far and how those compare to?
My pleasure. So far, 33,812 early voters. That is just slightly less than twice as many as we had over the same exact time period in 2012. Yeah.
Any indication that we're getting more voters than we have had in past years overall?
Yeah, what we try to do is we try to compare apples to apples. So in this case, when we're looking at a comparison, we're going to compare back to the 2012 primary. That's the closest presidential primary that we have to look at. And again, in 2008, we had a similar situation as in 2012 because the Democrats had their caucus separately. So again, the numbers are looking, very healthy for turnout compared to, the same election 4 years ago.
Same numbers as in raw numbers or the same?
Same numbers as in total number of people turning out to vote, either by early or absentee, so far. Yeah. Anything else? Got it? All right. Thanks, guys.